Welcome to the Innovation Squadcast. If you are looking for a podcast about instructional strategies enhanced by technology, you came to the right place. In our conversations, we will talk with tech experts, share ideas and strategies to help you build your toolbox with tools that you can use in your class immediately.
Welcome to the Innovation Squadcast. Thanks for making us part of your educational PD journey. In today's latest episode, we're going to get into the end of school year, looking ahead at what lies beyond. As educators, this time of year brings a flurry of tasks for tidying up our digital classrooms to planning for the next chapter in our careers. In today's episode, we'll be covering essential steps for Schoology cleanup, best practices for managing your Google account, and exciting professional development opportunities to make the most of your summer break. Additionally, we'll share recommendations for podcasts and books to inspire and to inform your journey. Join us as we prepare to close out the year strong and set ourselves up for success in the months ahead. But before we get started, let's pause for this week's tech tip. All right, so we're going to look at how to save our course at the end to our resources. And we're actually going to start in resources. So when shared resources, you have your home collection and you can send assignments and folders here, or you can add a collection. If you hit the little box next to the arrow, you can add a collection. In this case, I added a 22-23 practice collection so that I can save my course into that collection. So let's head back to our course. So hit courses. I'm going to go to my practice course here, and we're going to look at saving that course. Now I can grab individual assignments, individual pages, assessments, or folders, however I organize my class, and I can click the settings wheel on the right, and I can save those to resources. Or you have the option, which is under next to options and next to add materials under options, to be able to save the entire course to our resources. So once you click that, then you would pick the collection that you want to send it to, in this case 22-23, and then I would hit the submit button and send that course over into my resources. So what does that look like? So if I go to my resources and I hit the 22-23 practice collection, you can see now that it took that whole course and created a folder inside of that collection, so that when I open up that folder, I now have the individual folders that came inside of that course. And I can then hit the settings wheel on the right-hand side, and I can add those to my course. I also have the option of sending the entire folder to a course as well. Hope everybody enjoyed that tech tip. I am Jimmy Kate.
I'm Pam Hubler.
Phil Sheridan.
And we are getting to just kind of wrap up the school year. This is our last episode of the school year. 76 we did, I think 50 was the welcome back at the beginning, and 70, so we did over 26 episodes this year. What's that?
I'll let you do the math.
Yeah, 26 episodes this school year, so pretty excited about that. It's probably the highest number I think we've gotten in a school year. Our views are good. I think we're going to give out over close to 100 hours of PD credit this summer for everybody that's been listening. So we definitely want to say a big thank you to everyone who's been listening. And then we'll be back next school year at the beginning with kind of what we learned and welcome back and what we're excited about. We got some new things on the horizon for next year that we're hoping to be able to bring and pretty excited about. But today's kind of about thinking about some things that we want to do and kind of closing it out. And we got our Dr. Schoology here going to talk about how the best ways to kind of what can you do with your folders, assignments, courses to kind of at the end of the year with some good kind of practices.
As you close out this year, you want to think about really, what went well for you. What would you want to reuse for next year? I think looking at Schoology, you want to think of it as building up your library of educational resources that you use with your students. So think about all the stuff that you want to reuse next year. Maybe it's your course entirely. Maybe it's some folders that you had of content, but whatever it is, you want to save those folders or the entire course up to your resources so that you can use them again next year. At the end of this year, when the term ends, all of our courses are going to go into an archive status. I think that's important to know. A lot of people panic when they come into their Schoology, especially in the summer. They're like, where are all my courses?
Right.
Just know they're in archive, so you can get to them. But again, you don't want to use archived courses as your repository, if you will, for stuff you want to reuse.
Right.
Be intentional. What you want to reuse, put it in resources. That's the best place for that sort of thing. I think the other thing too for summertime prep, as you know, hopefully everybody enjoys their summer, but as we begin to start to think about next school year and getting ready, just knowing that your courses aren't going to be there until the school year actually starts. So for those that want to build new content or start to organize, old content blended with new, a good practice is to just start a blank Schoology course.
Right.
There's no students in it. It's not, there's no setup to it, but it's a good place to go and start to create that stuff. So when your new courses are there, all you have to do is just do copy to, and then you can copy them over to your new class.
And to do that, you just go to courses, go to my courses. Then on the right-hand side, it'll be like create a course. And you just create basically a sandbox, we used to call them, place that you can, shell course that you can start putting information, start building out, and then you can just copy that over. So you're not doing work that you wouldn't, you're not redoing something or going to have to redo it. You can just copy it over to the courses when they populate.
And that's where you see your archived courses too. Like you don't notice it at the top, it'll say current, and then there is a tab that says archived. So if you do need to find those, they're in the same place.
Yeah. So, turning off sync to sys at the end of the school year, for all your stuff, although it's probably a little less important in Q4 because, we really like to do that to ensure that as, subsequent quarters come up that you're not trying to sync old quarters, but at the end of the school year, courses go archived anyway. So you wouldn't, they become unsyncable at that point just because of that. I think the other thing too, just kind of wrapping up the school year, is looking in, for some, middle and high school teachers, you're going to have EOCs or finals coming up. And, that's the one exception where we tell people that's put directly into Power School. You go to your E2, and then just put that score in there like we've done, before Schoology even existed. But with that said, though, you're going to put a grade into Power School that you may not have in Schoology. And if that is the case, if you don't put that final exam in Schoology, just go to check your grade setup in each of your courses and make sure that you're not displaying to students that final grade setup, because you don't want to mislead them into thinking, here's your final grade. You don't want questions. Why does the final grade in Schoology show differently than what I just got on a report card? Because some may prefer the Schoology grade if it's higher, if they don't do well on the exam. So.
And if they want to, they can create that final exam category in their grade book and add that to make sure that their F1 grades are correct. And
we just recently sent out information on how to do that. But if you choose to not, you just definitely want to make sure those overall grades showing the overall grade in the grade setup, so that students are just then focused on how did I do in my marking terms.
We want to do that because the final exam is a grading period. It's not an assignment. It's not categorized, So it has to kind of go in both places.
Start to get into the semantics and the nerd knowledge of
grading, grading
properly talk about them. But
makes sense. Yep.
That's when all the due dates come in.
Yep. Due dates are important here. Yep. That's
important.
Yep. Make sure that everything exams need to be, I think, was it 29th and 30th, I think, are the due dates. Yeah. You want to make sure you don't have any assignments on those dates, because those need to be, prior to those dates, because they'll show up in that E category. So when synced over.
A lot of people coming on Schoology chat asking why do I have so many grades in my E2? And bulk editor, you're going to see anything due dateless is going to default there. Or if you, I didn't realize that.
And we don't want to make a final exam in that Q4 part of Schoology. We want to make sure it is in its own kind of separate grading period. And again, reach out to your ILCs. We send out some newsletter information that shows you how to do that, or come onto the Schoology help chat, and we can walk you through that process as well. So
we'll link that document to the show notes also.
Absolutely.
So that way it's a nice visual as far as the steps, the dates, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Your the other thing too, recently, Google and how Google affects resources in Schoology kind of made a little bit of a change. Threw a couple of people off. Those that use it a lot may have observed it looks different. But with that said, your Google Drive resource app really doesn't change from year to year. It's just simply how Google Drive is connected to Schoology. What things in your Google Drive get bookmarked in your Schoology. There's really nothing to do with that at the end of the school year. When you come back next year, anything you had from this year is going to be in place. It's not determined year by year. It's just an ongoing kind of, like I like to say, like a bookmarked list of items that you have. in your Google Drive resources app. So
All right.
I think that's about it for end
Cool.
of school year.
Yeah, sounds good. And then we also wanted to, and I brought the Googliest of the Googles, and that's Pam, to talk us about how we can do some kind of Google cleanup, right? Think about end of the year, you've been, just creating all kinds of files, maybe in your Google Drive with some kind of cleanup quick tips. And then also, if you're, unfortunately, or maybe you're retiring and fortunately getting to, you've earned your retirement, you want to take some of that Google stuff with you. What's some ways that they can do that as well? So,
okay, this is important too, because it is one of those things that if you don't know that all these documents that you use all the time are actually owned by somebody else, and then they leave because they got to retire.
But yes, and think about that, other people that leave.
Yes, it can affect other people, and you don't think about it. It's not like you're doing it on purpose.
Right.
So the first thing, first, just Google Drive. If you are one of those people that like to save things on your desktop, because of updates and all that kind of stuff during the summer, you definitely want to take those off.
Right.
So generally what I would do is I would drag all my stuff into a folder on my desktop that says desktop items or whatever. And then you can actually take that folder and drag it into Google Drive. So then it saves a copy of everything there. So if anything is done to your computer or you get a new computer, you can still access all those things. Because I've met many teachers that freak out because they're like, oh my gosh, where's all my stuff? I had it on my desktop. Well, it's not going to stay there if anything gets updated.
Gotcha. So
that's one thing, cleaning up your desktop. And then what I like to do personally is at the end of the school year, I'll create a folder that says 23, 24. Like we have one for our team because so many of us use one folder. I can drag things into it just within my Google Drive. So that way it's still there. But when I'm looking at all my folders, it's not a disaster, or you have to scroll down because we have a lot by now.
Right.
I mean,
yeah,
we've been using Google for a long time now. So there's a lot in there. So creating a folder for the year and then dragging that stuff in there if you want to clean up that main page of your Google Drive. And then checking ownership of documents, that is important. So if there's something you use all the time, you can click on share and see who owns it.
Right.
That might be something that you want to talk with your team or your coworkers. If you do have somebody that's retiring or going to another district or whatever, hopefully that's not the case. Just retiring. We'll just stick with that.
Yeah.
So then you can actually you can transfer the ownership.
Right.
And that's really nice because then all you have to do is click on that share. And then you'll see a drop down next to the other people that have access, and you can switch it to a viewer, a commenter, editor, and you can actually change so that way they own it. But the person that owns it is the one that has to do that.
Gotcha.
So that's something
real important
to think about, if you are just plan ahead and help your teammates and look at everything that you have, even if you want to transfer it to the team lead that is going to be there next year, then when you do go into the Google Takeout, which I'll talk about next, then it's already owned by somebody else, and you could still have copies of it, but somebody else owns it. And
that's
it's not
real
gonna
important
disappear.
for that Google shared drives. If you do a big shared drive with people in a team, it's important that you guys all have some ownership and take that, that way it's that you'll have access to those resources.
Yes.
So,
and the difference is that even works with a Google Drive, I hadn't even talked about the shared drives.
Right.
Because it does make a difference. What were you going to say, Phil?
I was just going to say, just also, from the Schoology standpoint, remember Schoology is just a lens into your drive.
Right.
So if something goes away in Drive, it's going to go away in your Google Drive resource app.
Right.
It's just a window into your Google Drive.
Right.
So
that is true. Okay, so that you do have to manage that ownership in your regular Google Drive, and then under My Drive is shared drives, which it used to be team drives, which was easier to differentiate.
Yeah, sure.
But now it's still shared drives. You might have multiple, and let's say you have one for a grade level. And if I click on the three dots, and we'll add screenshots to the show notes, you can view members. And from there, you can actually see who actually is a content manager, a manager, there's viewers, there's a lot of different settings. And that's something to really pay attention to, because if a person retires and they are the one that is the manager of a shared drive, and that person is no longer there because after 30 days, that, is kind of an archive setting at the I guess the Google level. That's something that you want to make sure that it is a content manager, or there is one person that is staying that is the manager of it, because then they can add people, they can take away, they can change all the settings. But if they're not there, then that can be a little bit more challenging.
Yes.
So change that manager of your shared drives before you get to retire.
Yeah. And then for those retirees, Google Takeout, if they need to
Yes.
take their, teachers leaving the district, what's the best kind of step to go through?
So for Google Takeout, all you have to do is just make sure you're signed into your Google, your work Google account. And if you just go to takeout.google.com, it will tell you exactly what to do. And you just follow the directions. It'll literally be step 1, select your data. And you just go through all the directions and click next. And it will save it to, you can either download it or you can have it sent to a personal Google account, like a Gmail account.
Do you suggest like cleaning up that drive at all before they do it? Because does it take a long time, or
it can take a long time? Yes, and you might want to uncheck some things that you don't need because it goes through like all the Google tools.
Gotcha.
And if you uncheck the things that you don't need, it won't bring those over.
And then if you choose to download it, not transfer it, the documents, the Google Doc, the sheet, the slide, they all become Microsoft Docs.
Oh, right.
And they get converted, so whereas transferring to another Google account keeps them in their original Google format. So if it does get, converted to from a slide to a PowerPoint. You may lose some of your formatting stuff, so just keep that in mind.
Definitely. Yeah, I've always done it to a Google
account. Another Google account. Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it.
Yes, it is.
You could do it. Could you do it both ways if you wanted to? Could you download it to like a flash drive and then
just go
also
through the process twice?
Yeah. Cool. All right. So that kind of takes care of the end of the year cleanups. And now we're going to get into some exciting things coming up this summer. And one of those is the Maker Craze. We're bringing it back. We ran one earlier, and we're going to be running a summer version of the Maker Craze. I know Kendall's going to be probably leading it, and then she's going to bring it. And another teacher is going to be leading it, and it's really exciting. So it's something that if you're wanting to, is it only for people that have laser cutters? Is it going to be open to? Do you guys know the details on that? We just kind of decided
we've closed it off.
Right,
it would be
probably beneficial if you got a laser cutter.
Beneficial if you had one to learn those skills. It's the difference with this one versus what we did is. I think it's going to be four consecutive days where it's not going to be go back and do in your school. So, you're going to do it right then in that 4 kind of, 4 days with us using our lasers.
Gotcha.
So.
And right now it's going to be July 22nd through the 25th. So go ahead and mark your calendar. Look out. Should be some information and flyers coming out here soon. So definitely check that, or again, reach out to your ILCs and we'll get you that information as soon as possible. So it's exciting professional development opportunities there. And then, kind of going to, what we're going to be listening to and reading. I'm a listener. Pam's the reader. So a couple of podcasts that I've been really enjoying lately is The Generative Age. It's AI in education. And her name is Alana Winnick. And I met her at ISTE last year, and she's out of New York, and she's been pretty much on the forefront of like really diving into the AI. She wrote a book on AI in education, and she brings on a lot of good people. She brought in John Spencer, who also The Creative Classroom with John Spencer is another great podcast that I listen to. Those are the two that I'm really focusing in and now trying to kind of see where this AI in education is going. And so she brings in a lot of really cool guests and talks to them. So it's really, really kind of cool podcasting. And like I said, the Creative Classroom with John Spencer is always one those are the two that I probably focus in the most. So.
Yeah, we're all fans of John Spencer.
Yes.
That's one of the books that I'm reading is the AI Roadmap by John Spencer. And then there's another one, the AI for Educators, because that's the biggest thing that's coming down that we'll be able to start using. So it's just one of those things that the more you know about it, the better, and ideas for how to use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Phil?
I can't share. I can say that both of those are good because I've had to get a little into the John Spencer book here
they're great.
Recently. But you definitely have to get on top. You have to start to
think about,
form your opinions and get yourself educated on it. It's a paradigm shifter for sure.
Yeah, and it's great because they give they talk to people about best practices. They talk about risks and benefits. So there's a lot that they're going to be providing you through that you can kind of start shaping what your framework is going to look like. And so that's important.
Here to stay for a while.
We think so. Yeah. So.
And I'm going to add another book, and it's just the gamification book that's done with Michael
Matera, yes. One of our guests.
Yes, one of our guests. If you haven't listened to that one, definitely listen to
gamification.
it. I'll add that because if you've done any of the sessions that we did at the Innovation Squadcast, or I'm saying the wrong thing.
The Innovation Summit.
Innovation Summit.
Yeah.
Kendall has been doing the gamification sessions, and so it's a great book if you want to get more out of that.
Perfect. All right. Well, it's been a great school year. Pam's been probably my co-partner for a lot of these, and I really appreciate, and Phil, appreciate you coming in and showing definitely your expertise in Schoology. We're going to have a great summer. We're going to learn a lot and then be ready to go next year. So we appreciate everyone that has been checking out the podcast. Go to the show notes. We got, again, tons of resources there. It's not too late to join the Innovation Squadcast PD. We're going to close it on May 26th of 2024. That's when this podcast is coming out. So May 26th, 24th, sorry, Friday, May 24th, we'll close it. And then, so those of you that have been doing Unified Talent, we're going to start handing out those hours between the June 3rd and June 7th. So just kind of be on the lookout for that survey to make sure that you get your credit for that. We've got, again, the podcast on YouTube. We'll have the podcast on Spotify, and then make sure you're subscribing to get notifications. And we want to hear from you next year. What things did you like this year? What things did you not like? What topics do you want for next year, so that we can populate and get those episodes ready to go.
And I am going to add something to this list, just because I want to, I made just a list of all of our show notes for this year.
Okay.
So that way it's really easy to just click on it and then you can watch it from there or whatever.
Yeah.
So
The show notes have the video link to it. It's got the tech tip video. It's got the Unified Talent it's got everything you need right there. So definitely check out the show notes. All right. Thanks for being here. Okay. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.